Floss Tube, welcome to Snickerdoodle Stitch. My name is Kathleen and this is a channel about cross stitch. So it's been a while since I was back with a regular episode. I did my WIP parade and my 2024 finishes parade. And I'm on a good start for finishes for this year too, so I'm excited to show you what I've been stitching over the last month. First of all, I got a ton of new subscribers with my WIP parade, I think, so thank you all who are new here, and thank you so much to everybody who continues to come back. I really feel like I've made some friends through this channel, so I appreciate you all. I'm going to dive right into the stitching. I have I have 5 FFOs, and I have a finish, and I have a couple starts. So I've said before, I'm not real big on goals. I have a full-time job still, and I manage enough projects, and I don't want my cross stitch to become a project management activity. I got enough of that in my life. It's my hobby. I just want to stitch, so I try to keep things rotated up, but I don't set a lot of goals for myself. I'm a seasonal stitcher. I have a couple pieces this year that I want to have as focus pieces that I do have goals to finish this year. One is RATM, From Toledo to Toledo, Blackbird Designs, Strawberry Fields, and those are the only 2 that are coming to mind right now. I'm sure there are some seasonal pieces too that I want to finish, but those 2 are ones that I want to focus on throughout the year. And I'm looking at joining my local guild, which is Delaware Valley Historic Sampler Society. I'm not a huge sampler stitcher. I do stitch some samplers, but I'm not like a strictly samplers, you know, like Brenda and the Serial Starter. Brenda and Laura, they're all samplers all the time, and that's not me, but I don't dislike samplers. It just, honestly, it doesn't fit with the aesthetic of my house, and so I'm often stitching with a purpose, an end goal of where I want to put something or how I want to use it, and samplers don't work for me. Not tremendously anyway. I'll make an exception. I love Quaker samplers, and I think just the geometry in Quaker samplers can actually look modernish. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like ultra modern or anything here, but historic samplers don't really fit the vibe either. Anyway, I'm probably a little loopy. I have one of the it's a Shark, but it's like the automated, the little round vacuum that's in here. And at 4 o'clock this morning, I was awakened to a thumping sound. I couldn't figure out what it was. I became convinced someone was in the house, but that didn't really make sense. I jumped up and put some clothes on and went to explore. And after I came out of my bedroom door, I heard banging on this bedroom door. And I was like, oh my God, somebody is in my office. Now, I had nothing to defend myself. I don't know what I thought I was doing. But as I approached the door, I heard something bang into the door, and I recognized the sound. The stupid automated vacuum had started itself at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you can set routines on them so that they would run when you're away and stuff like that. I do not have a routine set for it to run at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've never had a routine set on it. I don't know what that was all about. I was setting some things on my Alexa for some late switch routines that I have, you know, on the Amazon House Alexa thing, smart plugs, because I was shutting off the routines that would turn on and off the Christmas trees. But I don't think the vacuum cleaner's even in there. So I don't know. I'm going to have to check in there tonight just to be sure, because I do not want to be awakened at 4 o'clock in the morning again. I just picked the dumb thing up and shut it off and put it upside down on the bed so that it couldn't start itself again. But I don't know. Maybe I'll do that tonight before I go to bed just to be sure, since tomorrow's a work day too. Anyway, I'm a little loopy because I didn't fall back to sleep really well after that. And I'm an 8-hour-a-night sleeper. I have been my whole life, still am. I've had different periods where I don't sleep well. but it shows. I get cranky and I get loopy. But I'm going to dive into stitching. Like I said, I've got 5 FFOs. I'm really excited about these. So a couple of them were definite goals and 2 of them were stretch goals. I got a lot of stitching done, folks. So the first one that I'm excited about is Mirabilia, the Christmas Elf Fairy. This is the pattern. The pattern calls for gentle arts, and I used a DMC conversion that I found online. I do have the DMC conversion that I can share if anybody wants it. Actually, it's called Magic Monsters, Vanessa, Christmas Elf Fairy DMC conversion. I think I just Googled Mirabilia Christmas Elf Fairy DMC conversion, and this came up. It's a blog that looks like it's been discontinued. Like the person doesn't keep up with the blog anymore, but it's still out there, and I actually really love the DMC conversion. But I got it FFO'd and finished in my oval frame, which was a thrift store find. It is stitched on 32 count eucalyptus from Fox and Rabbit. And other than the DMC conversion, I did use some, I'm not sure it's going to show up. I have a blending filament in with the floss for the pale gray floss for the wings. So there's a lot of shimmer, and I'll tilt it so you can see there. Well, maybe. I'm not sure what way to tilt it. There's a lot of beads. These snowflake kind of designs up in here. There's beads all around the tree. Her kind of shawl thing there on her boots, the bottom of her dress, and then these down here. There is one bead or set of beads that's under the frame. So to frame in an oval or round frame, what I do is cut the mat board or the foam core. This is actually on foam core. And then line that up where I want it on the stitching piece. And then I do a running stitch all the way around, about 1 inch out from the edge of the foam core. And then with the foam core on there, just pull those so that it draws tight around. And you end up with a nice smooth fabric. Then you don't have funny lumps and things over on the edges. And then I did do some additional stretching just to pull it nice and tight. And unfortunately, I thought this frame was big. I would have been happier, I think, if the frame were a tiny bit bigger. Like I said, it cut off a little bit of the beads here, and there's a little bit of the antennas cut off up here. And that's because I didn't account for how much I was actually going to stretch it. So if I had not stretched it as tightly, it would have fit better. But I'm really happy with it. I love this piece. I like it in the oval frame. I have a Mirabilia with kind of a burgundy and green dress that hangs in the bedroom, and I'm actually going to hang this there all the time. So I rotate out my pieces and normally only have Christmas out of Christmas, and I guess this is technically a Christmas elf. She is carrying a Christmas tree, but I plan on keeping her out all the time. But I am just thrilled with how she came out. Let me get a close-up of the DMC. The DMC conversion, the blending was really nice. I was very happy with that. And I love the 32 count. The Fox and Rabbit fabric is wonderful to work on, and this eucalyptus is one of my favorites. I went over the weekend right before New Year's. I went down DC way. It was sort of a last minute decision. And unfortunately it rained, so I had to keep changing what days I was going to do what. And then I realized that one of the stores that I wanted to go to in Baltimore was going to be closed after Saturday. So I had to keep reshuffling when I was going where. But the stitching post in Baltimore and in Stitches in Alexandria both have like 20% off sales, pre-inventory sales, and I bought some more eucalyptus because I do love that. I love that green, and the fabric's a dream to work on. But that's my Christmas elf. This next one, I didn't really plan on finishing this, but it got finished. And it is Silver Creek Samplers Kringle Flying Academy. This is the pattern. I love the font, the typography that she uses. And this was a lot of fun to stitch. It's a lot of stitching on this piece, but a lot of fun. And I have it finished and framed. And here it is. This one is on 28 count Fiber on a Whim Night Sky, and her model is actually on Fiber on a Whim Night Sky Ada. So when I dug through my stash and I'm like, oh, this fabric would be perfect. Yeah, I guess it would, because it is the same color that she used. But really happy with this. And this frame, funny story, I'm helping my dad clean out part of the basement, attic, some kitchen stuff, things that were my mom's, basically. My dad's engaged, so we're cleaning out some stuff and making room for him to now blend lives. And this frame was in the basement. He had a pile of frames, and most of them were junk. And I was like, I don't even think Goodwill's gonna want them. Just throw them away. And this one I was like, well, what's that frame? I'll take that frame. And it was one that, you know, when the photographers come around and they sell you the package of pictures and one of them might be in a frame. Well, this was a photographer that had come to their church and we had done a family portrait, and that was what had been in this frame. So it's a 10 by 13 standard size, and I wanted something that would let some of this beautiful fabric show through, and it was perfect. And I don't have any frames in my stash that are this heavy, like this wide, and I love this on here. So it was a little tricky to frame because the frame was designed to just slide a photo in and not really do anything else with it. The back didn't even come off. I had to pry it off and make some adjustments, but it worked. I've got it covered with dust paper now. But here he is up close. But I'm really happy with this one. Bummed because I didn't finish it until after Christmas, so this one won't get hung this year. But I have it ready for next year. On the camera it looks like there's something on here, but there's not. I'm like right here. I don't know what this is picking up. I don't see anything in person. It's something with the way the light's hitting it. But really happy with that one too. All right, now a couple smaller ones. This one I thought I might get finished, the Silver Creek Sampler. My goal on it was really just to get the houses at the bottom and the Santa done, and I got that big moon on there. This big moon was a lot of solid stitching up here. So I had been hoping to maybe get this bottom part done. I think I was thinking maybe the house and the moon I wouldn't get done until this next December. But I got it all finished. So this next one is a smaller piece. I had it about halfway done last time I showed it. This is Erin Elizabeth Designs, Believe. And that's the pattern. I stitched this on 22 count, so hard hanger, which is like Ada, but for some reason they call 22 count hard hanger. I've never figured that out. And I hand dyed it. I dyed a big piece of it and decided I wanted to do this on that, and it does pop. It's just a standard 5x5 square frame. I had a lot of round pieces that I could use for finishing, and the more I looked at it, the more I thought, you know what, I think I want to offset it in a square frame actually. And so that's what I did. I spray painted the frame white, so it's a glossy white. I'm not sure I can get it to pick up the, all right, it's not that glossy because the light's not picking up the shine. I'll hold it up closer. This is stitched with Dinky Dye's Natural. So I love that as an alternative to white. In person, it looks white. It is more of an ivory white. It's not a true pure white. And on camera, that is showing up. In person, it looks white. And so I'm really happy with it in the white frame. I'm loving it on that turquoise. And this frame is one that would sit on a table. I mean, it's got the, you know, the easel on the back, but it's also wide enough that it could just sit or it could hang. So really happy with that piece. So that's 3. The 4th one I got done, I had this almost finished. This one, oh yeah, I had something funny happen with this one. This one is Carolyn Manning Whiskerkins. Sorry, I'm getting something out of here. Holiday Helpers. And I had it all done except the button for the eye, and it called for Kringle. And you can't tell from the picture, but when I got the Kringle's actually kind of a antique-y, goldish, brownish, bronzish. It's a funny color. It even has a slight bit of a green cast to it, but I wanted this to be a certain size so that it would fit in a standard 5x7 frame, and it does fit beautifully. So I stitched it on 18 count, and I just dug through scraps that I had, and I pulled Vintage Country Mocha, and I'll be honest, I don't love it. If I had it to do again, I would pick a lighter fabric. So all of these stripes on the tail and these kind of polka dots on the cat are the Kringle. And you'll notice that he has a green eye. The pattern came with the red star, and I went to put the red star on, and I wasn't liking it for 2 reasons. One, this is actually a hot pink in here for the nose and the ears. It called for the hot pink everywhere, but I put red in for the hat and the ball. But when I went to put the star on, the star was covering part of his nose up to his head. The star was too big. And I'm like, well, what the heck? So when something comes with a button, if it calls for 14 count, do it on 14 count or 28 count. Don't do it on 18 or 36 count. I'm a dope. That's why the star didn't fit. So I dug through my buttons, and I actually kind of like the green circle better than the red heart anyway, but love the little mice on him, the little mouse on his head and the one down on his feet. I have collected mice since I was a kid. Can't stand live ones, but I'm actually liking him better on camera than I do in person. This Vintage Country Mocha is really dark, and I regretted that fabric choice, but they have him on a very, it's not a great picture, but oh, actually on camera it shows up. It's a very pale green. It's hand-dyed Tyne Jobelin. Doesn't say who it's from. Oh, it says Rachel. Maybe she hand-dyed it. Maybe it's not a hand-dyed that you can get. This red velvety frame was a Christmas frame that was $5 at Michael's back before Christmas. And I really liked it because when I popped the glass and the back out, it actually had 2 pieces of corrugated cardboard in there. So it's very deep. So there was plenty of room to put the foam core, and the fabric and everything fit fine, and the back that came with it closed. I didn't have to do anything special there. So that was number 4. Let me put that button back in there. Actually, let me get the Kringle out, because I'll put that in my container where I keep all my Kringle. All right. My 5th one. I did not plan on finishing this one. And I don't know where my card went for this one. I'm feeling like this was also on a Fiber on the Whim fabric, but I've lost my card. This is Lilli Violette, Waiting for Christmas. And this one, I said it would be fun just to stitch the lady. I had originally stitched the Little Village and the Merry Christmas, and just those two pieces by themselves. This is one that would be, you can stitch the whole thing, which is what I did, or you can break it up. So here it is, all finished. I love her. I love it in this round frame. So my original plan was square, and I picked fabric so that it would fit, I think, in an 8x8 square frame. But the more I looked at her, I thought, you know, I think I want to do her round. And so I was thinking of embroidery hoops and something, and then I thought, wait a minute. When I was thrifting back in the fall, I bought, this is actually a plate holder. And it's really nice wood. It's very deep in the back because it's designed to hold a plate. Now, it does have these funny clip things to hold the plate in place. So I have a framer thing. It looks kind of like a stapler, but it drives the glazier points in to hold needlework in, and you drive that into the wood then, and it holds it in place. It might be a little tricky to get something to stick in here without that tool. Not that you couldn't. I mean, you could drive a nail in, or I used to use the glazier points that you would push in with a screwdriver. I never had a tremendous amount of luck with those. They usually ended up falling out when I went to hang something up, but I'm loving her in this round frame. This is another one that I'm bummed, like the Silver Creek sampler, that I'm not able to hang it because this is very Christmassy, so it's not going to get displayed until next year. But I'm thrilled with the way she came out. It's a pale gray fabric. I think it might be Fiber on the Whim too, but I can't remember the name of it or the count. I think it's 32. Pretty sure it's 32. It's 2 strands, so I know it's not 36, and it wasn't bulky. But now I'm going to be on a mission looking for more plate holders, because it's one of those things that people had as collectibles, and they don't always have a great resale value, and so you can often get them inexpensively. These I got just the 2 plate holders. They didn't have plates in them, and that was really all I wanted. And I was thrilled because I had like one antique shop before seen a couple plates that were in plate holders, and I almost bought them, but they were more expensive. I mean, they were like $10 each, and the holders were plastic. And then, you know, 1 or 2 antique shops later, I spotted these, and it was just the wooden plate holders, and they were like $5 or less each, and I snatched them up, and I'm so glad I did it, because perfect. So those were all of my FFOs that I've gotten done. I have a couple finishes. So I was working on Hands-On Design, the tree lot. When I went down to DC, I took this with me because it's an easy one to stitch for me without any great light and all the fun stuff. And I had said I would be happy if I could get 1 tree done, and I did get 1 tree done. I only have the 1. I want to do all 3 of them. And this is on 18 count, I think. Oh no, 20 count charcoal gray Ada. And it's not over dyed or anything. It is just charcoal gray. It's all the called for floss, so it's Classic Colorworks. It might be a combo of, no, it is. It's all Classic Colorworks. But A lot of fun to stitch. I'm definitely going to do the other two. My plan is not, I want to finish them just a triangle shape, not the squares like this. I want to do them as ornaments, which is why I did them on the 20 count, because that's about as big as I want an ornament to be. Sorry, it keeps going out of focus. I cover my face to get it to focus, but I think it probably doesn't like that dark fabric now that I think about it. Oh, let me leave that pattern out so I remember to put that in the notes. All right, this next one is a finish. It's not truly finished, I just don't like it. So it's finished till it's gonna get finished. I love the pattern, don't get me wrong. I'm not happy with the colors. I wasn't happy when I showed it last time. I'm still not happy. And so I'll tell you my plans for this. It's Christmas Countdown by Erica Michaels, and I really wanted to do this to have it as a magnetic. I was going to finish it as a magnetic advent calendar. And back in November, I was working on the border on the top and the word December. And my plan was to get the birds done and the border at the bottom, and then basically do a number a day. And I was even thinking maybe I would just get all the borders and the birds up here, and maybe even this wreath, basically everything except the numbers done this year. And then next December, I would do a number a day. I am doing this, or was doing this, on Witchelt French Gray. I don't love working on this linen. It's stiff, and that doesn't bother me because I stitch in a frame, a hoop, a Q-snap. I like my fabric drum tight when I'm stitching. So stiffness doesn't really bother me, because if you pull it tight, it doesn't really matter. What I don't like about Witchel fabric is that the weave is looser, so there's more space in between the threads, and I'm a single hand stitcher. So I stitch, I go under to grab my needle, push it up through, come up to the top, pull it the rest of the way through. And when I poke it up from the bottom on the looser weave fabric, by the time I get my hand up around to the top, the stupid needle has fallen and is lying in my lap. So that's what I don't like about stitching on this fabric. It's beautiful fabric. I love the color. I'll use it, don't get me wrong. It's just not my favorite to stitch on. And I will consider that when I go to buy fabric again. So I got all of December done. Well, almost all. I didn't fill in the M because I got fed up with the whole project. I don't like the colors of the floss. It's very dull looking. I lean toward brighter colors, and this is my office. I work in here. It's intentionally overly bright, so I don't think the rest of my house looks like a circus. I would be happier with some bright retro colors. So my plan is to pick some different colors of floss. You know, maybe even a teal green. You know, like, where did my little thing go? The green I had stitched like this kind of green, the blue green, a brighter red. I still like the pattern. I just don't like the floss colors. So if you look at the pattern, she has part of it. Where did I lost the pattern now? Here we go. Hang on. Now I've dropped things. There is December done on a little drum here. And so it is a slightly different pattern. There's some things in between the letters. But it gave me the idea that I could just take this and make a drum with it for a smalls exchange. It's not that the colors are ugly, they just are not my colors. And so I think I'm probably going to do a drum or something with this. So it's not going to go to waste, but I'm not going to finish this whole thing in these colors because I won't like it when it's done. I won't want to use it, I should say. So you probably see that one again next year with some different colors. We'll see. By next year, it can be flighty. I'll be on to plan. I can't even say B. All right, this next one, I did my whip parade, right? I had 60 whips. I found some more, and I've lost one. When I was down at one of the needlework stores in Baltimore, and I'm looking at the patterns, and all of a sudden someone turned a spinner, and I looked over and I thought, huh, I have that stocking dimensions kit, and it's about a third of the way done, and it's not in my Christmas things that I pulled. I know I started it when I was out for surgery last May. I have no idea where this, it is a full dimensions kit and it's a stocking and I have no idea where it is. All my stitching is, it's not like it's all over the house. It's all in one place. So this kit has to be in one of those project bags that I pulled out and had, but I can't find it. I went through all of the Christmas things once again to see, is it behind something? I went through the other projects that I worked on when I was out for my surgery. I went back to my floss tube around that time to look and confirm, was I remembering everything that I worked on? And it's not in those project bags, so I have no idea what I put this in. But it's a whip that wasn't shown, and so it wasn't in my count. These are similar. These, I know what happened with these. These were in with another project that I took to Stitch New Jersey last year. These were two of the things I did for the 3 and 3. And when I pulled that out to stitch on it, the other, what it was behind, I went, oh, I didn't show these on my whip parade. And I have two of these started from the 3 and 3 starts at Stitch New Jersey. So this is Tiny Modernist Stitcher's Ornaments. This is a PDF that I bought. This was in one of the Just Cross Stitch magazines. Because when I went to organize Christmas stuff one time, and I had this pattern, and then I realized, well, shoot, I have it here, torn out of a magazine. So I gave that one to my friend Lana. But when I was in New Jersey, I had started the tomato and the thread. I didn't start the featherweight because I wasn't sure I was going to do it. But I do now have a featherweight. And so I am going to do the featherweight. But here's the thread, still just a whip. I didn't do any more on it, but I finished the tomato. So I got one done here. That's the tomato. This is on, I think I figured it is 28 count Lugana. Might even be 32 count. And I'm not sure why I did it 2/2. Usually when I work on plain white Lugana, I do 1/1. But I must have decided they were going to be too tiny. This is a little big for me for an ornament. But again, whatever I was thinking last summer. Oh, I've got lint or something on there. So I've got enough fabric here to do all 3. So I won't FFO these until I am done with all 3 of them. And I'm thinking I may take this to Stitch New Jersey this year. And maybe instead of 3, maybe for me, instead of 3 and 3 being 3 new starts, it'll be 3 Christmas ornaments, and this might be 2 of them or something like that. We'll see. All right, these next couple, 3 I think are starts. This one, I had the pattern, but I had not planned on starting this. It's Crocette Gogo's Advent Calendar from 2020, and the picture does not do it justice. I watched Carolyn Zook's Whip Parade. She is stitching this and has, I don't know, like the top 6 days done or something like that. And when I saw hers, I fell in love with it and went, ooh, I need to stitch that. So I've started it. This is on Seraphim fabric, 32 count silver mist. And look at the fabric, isn't it gorgeous? This takes more than a fat quarter. This sucker is big. I mean, this is just 2 of the 24 up here. And it's what, 4 wide? It's actually 4 wide and then 6 down, but then there's another wide band across the bottom that has the sleigh and stuff. So I got the, I don't know what this, cupcake or something here. This is a Christmas ball that started. But yeah, it's so pretty in person. The photo just doesn't do it justice. Carolyn's is on a more tan fabric, like the picture on the pattern. I opted for the gray. It's similar colors to the ones that are in a Little Dove that I did last year, and I did it on gray. I actually did it on the back of Vintage Stormy Night. So it's a solid gray. It's not the mottled side, it's the back side, because that was the perfect gray. This is a really close gray. And by what I mean is it's not really purple, it's not really green. Grays are tricky. And it's about the same lightness, darkness. So I knew the colors would show up well on it, and I'm really happy with that. So I stitched some on that. I didn't get a lot of that done, and I'll show you why. There was something I started New Year's Day that I became all consumed with. This next one I wanted to start this year, and I did. This is a Crocette a Gogo, Aspettando Natale, and it's a pretty in-depth piece, but what I want to do is this square right here with the mice decorating the Christmas tree, and I got a good chunk of it done. This is on 28 count Lakeside Navy Bean. It was a scrap that I had. I gotta get my hands on more Navy Bean in any count, I'll be honest. I love Navy Bean. I just dug through my scraps to look for something that was the right size, and that's how I ended up with this. But I really just have the 2 mice left to do, and then there is a lace edge up here with a couple Christmas balls that hang up in this corner. But it's a fun, well, there's some little tiny things left down in here. Some more light bulbs, and they're decorating the tree. But, so got that started. I'll finish this, you know, when I start holiday stitching this fall. This will be a quick finish. This is only, it was a couple nights stitching. So this one will go pretty fast. All right, this last one, this is a doozy. So I've had this pattern, and I had this kitted up. I think I did show this maybe in my whips, because I had it fully kitted, and I was trying to decide, am I ever gonna stitch this, or should I just sell it all fully kitted? I'm glad I didn't do that, because I ran into a problem. It is this Mirabilia Santa's Magic, and this is out of print. I've had this pattern for close to 30 years. It's from 1995, and I know my LNS Strawberry Sampler used to have this sample hanging in the shop. And I know I saw it there several visits, and then just was like, I need this pattern, and I never started it. So I went to start this. This is the fabric I had picked out, pretty close. The fabric it calls for is Desert Sand from White Chilt, and that is still produced. I'm glad I didn't buy that, because that'd be that White Chilt. But I had this over dyed, and I really wanted to use this. I started stitching it. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit there. I started stitching, and I didn't get very much stitched. And I was like, huh, I'm not loving stitching on this fabric. And something tells me this is Weeks Dye Works, and I better check the thread count. Because the size of this fabric, if it were 32 count, is just big enough. There was not a lot of allowance. I didn't have like 3 inches even on each side, or 4 inches. It was like maybe, I think there was plenty of allowance on one side, but the other direction it was only going to be like 2 inches on each, on top and bottom, or left and right. I forget which was which. So I had stitched this little bit, and I got my ruler out and did a thread count, and it's only 30 count. It's not 32. So definitely Weeks Dye Works, which kind of looking at it, I can tell. So I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. But I had made up my mind that I really wanted this to be a New Year's Day start. I wanted to spend all day New Year's Day stitching on this. Well, I had kind of started it, thankfully, because this fabric wasn't gonna work. So when I was down in Baltimore and Alexandria, I looked at the shops there, and I found fabric. And I don't remember what it is. It's Atomic Ranch. Atomic Ranch Golden Harvest. And it's not as dark, but look at it. I got a ton stitched. I stitched on this New Year's Day, and I did stitch on it one of the days the following weekend. So this is like a tassel that's on his hat. His head would be here. What I have stitched is, this is the big gold thing you can see, and then I'm headed over this way, and I've got over into here stitched. So this is the part I'm working on. Next, I'm going to move up into his beard. I need to do a little legwork on that, though. It calls for a lot of white, and then there's a gray 762. And I think I have it. Hang on, and I'll show you the challenge with 762. Yeah, loving stitching on this. This not only has 4 packs of beads in it, and I mean 4 packs, like it tells you need more than 1 pack of one of them. It has 8 different Krynics, and one of the Krynics, when I looked up the errata for this pattern, it says you need approximately 4 spools of it. There is a ton of Krynic stitching in this. So at some point I'm going to have to put it, I think, on a scroll frame, because I think the Q-snap's going to damage the Krynic. I was just using a Q-snap to stitch. But so much fun. Here's the challenge with the 762. I think I actually put it in here. Maybe I didn't. It's a lot of colors. Hang on, I know it's 762. Here it is. And we'll see if this will show up on camera. Need something white. Oh no, I don't have the old 762 in here. All right, I'm gonna have to just describe the problem because it looks like I pulled the old one out, I think, so that I could take it shopping with me. 762 is one of the grays that when DMC changed, when the EU changed the rules over what kind of dyes they could use, 762 changed significantly. It used to be pale and a little on the tan side. Now it's either lighter or darker, I forget which, but it's very purpley looking, and purpley is not gonna work for me in his beard. So I've got to take the old 7062, and I've got two things I can try. One will be just to hold it up against the current colors. I mean, I've got one of the cards that has samples of every color. Hold it up against those to see, like, I'm wondering if one of the new 2 to 30, whatever, there's some grays in there. If something there is closer to the old 762 than what the current 762 is. The other option I have, there is a Creative Reuse in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they sell a lot of, well, they sell donated craft supplies. And they always have a ton of DMC, and they're a great source for DMC with the old labels, so you can tell how old they are. And I may be able to get some old 762 there. So, gotta work on that. But I won't get this out again probably till next November-ish. So I've got plenty of time. I also need to find more Kreinik. I looked and I have, I think, 5 of the 8 Kreiniks that are required. But, so I have 3 more that I need. And then now that I know I need 4 spools of one of them, I've got to get 3 more spools of that. So that's on my shopping list for when I'm in my travels. All right, this next one, this isn't a start. So that's all of my stitching that I've done. This next one is something that I had hoped to stitch, which is Modern Folk Embroidery put a bird on it. And EJ from Sunshine Stitchers is hosting a SAL for this. There are a ton of people doing it. It's a lot of fun seeing, you know, if you read inside, he's designed it to be a single color, but the model on the cover has multiple colors. I think this is Roxy Floss Co. He partners with Avvento quite a bit, and I think this is a Roxy Floss Co. Avvento collaboration on the front here. I can't quickly locate that, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I ordered back in late October, early November, some half hanks of silk from Silks for You. I've ordered from them before. They're in Australia, so it ships overseas. Last time I ordered from them, I got something in a week, which I don't even know how that was possible. I still don't know how that even happened, but I had it like a week later. This time I ordered it late October, early November. It shipped right away. I could see it slowly making its way across the ocean. I saw it hit customs. I saw it clear customs. So they do it with Australian international tracking, fantastic tracking. It just jumps you to shop. And shop shows you exactly where it's at. I saw it clear customs on December 9th and transfer or then move to transfer station or transfer facility. I'm like, okay, cool. New York, it's only a couple hours away. I'm gonna have it in no time. Last week I still didn't have it, and the app was still showing that it had moved to the transfer station on December 9th. Suddenly one day last week, it says, you know, it's going to arrive at its destination tomorrow. And I was like, oh, thank heavens, it's finally on its way. Then I read a little more closely, and it says it's going to arrive at its destination in Australia. I don't know what happened with it. It got stuck in New York, something with customs, and then got shipped back. So I emailed, I think her name is Jo, from Silks for You. She responded right away, very sweet. And I emailed her and said, look, it looks like this got shit sent back to you. I don't mind paying the shipping again. This was not your fault. Something's gone wrong with the postal service, it looks like. So I'm happy to pay shipping again. I still want the silks. She replied right away, very sweet, and said she was going to call the post office the next day, the Australian Post, and see if they could tell what was happening, and she would ship it back out to me. She then followed, oh, and what was my address, just so she could confirm that was right. She then followed up the next day and said the Australian Post Office agreed that the tracking showed that it was back over there, but that it didn't give a reason why. So they didn't know why it had been returned. So I did see she's reshipped it, so now I'm waiting for it. But in the meantime, the SAL was supposed to start back in December. It did start back in December, at least everybody else did. I was still waiting for my floss. So when I was shopping the weekend before New Year's, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna buy some floss to do this with. So I bought some floss. I bought some lovely Belle Soie Mirabilia, because I want this in blues for my family room. I've got some old prints hanging in there, and I would be more than happy to replace them with some stitching. So I want to stitch Rosewood Manor Blue Rhapsody. Carolyn Manning Stitch has that one in progress too in her whip parade, and I was like, oh yeah, I do need to stitch that. So I bought the silk, and then I was like, okay, I wanted it 28 count, and I wanted it 28 count because that would make it just a little over 14 by 14. And I was like, yeah, 15 by 15 frame, that's hefty enough. I mean, two things hanging on this wall, they need to be pretty sizable or they're going to look silly hanging there. So I'm like, okay, I'll just look at my 28 count linens. I have some 28 counts. 32 count is what I lean toward. But when I first got back into stitching, 28 is what, it was the best I thought I could see to stitch on. And so I had a nice selection of 28. So I look at my 28. I don't have nearly as much as I thought, which is fine because it's not what I normally grab. Unless I want something to be bigger, like I wanted this to be. Yeah, I wanted like a pale gray. I had nothing in gray, probably because that gets pulled a lot by me. So then I thought, okay, I'll dye some fabric. Well, I actually like Quakers on Ada. And so then I thought, well, you know what? That's even better because I've got some plain white 14 count Ada. I'll dye that. Chef's kiss. So I dyed my Ada, but it came out a mess. And it looks even worse on camera than it does in person. But in person, these two big spots you can see. This you can't see in person. There's some other spots even showing up. It didn't model right. It came out more blue. And that's my fault. I did use gray dye, but the bowl that I was dyeing it in, the last thing I dyed in it was that turquoise blue that the little Believe was on. And the bowl was still, it's a big white bowl. It's like an old pasta bowl is what it is. It was blue inside, but I thought it was just stained. But obviously there was still some dye there. And as this sat in it, the blue did come out. So I could have lived with that, but I didn't like the modeling. And then these spots appeared. I don't even know what those are. I mean, they're obviously something that wasn't clean, but so I'm like, great. First I have no floss. Now I'm having a disaster with the fabric. So I dug out some 28 count Lugana and I dyed it, and it's perfect. It doesn't have any funky spots. The modeling is perfect. It's not too blue. It's the right lightness. Where'd my floss go? So my put a bird on it will be this blue on this hand-dyed fabric. So I've got to get rolling because now the rest of the group is done December and January. They're done 2 months. I'll pick up quickly. It's not actually that much stitching. They've kind of just done this corner. So it'll be no problem to catch up. I mean, I caught up on the Rosewood Manor dozen Quakers back there on the green pillow. I started in July and I finished in November. So, and that was a 12-month, and I started it 7 months in, 8 months in. So next time I'm back, I will be caught up on that, and you'll see my stitching there. How did I forget to put this over here? I got too many piles going. I have a tiny bit of haul. Where are we at with time? Good Lord, this is longer than I thought it was going to be. I went to Rittenhouse Needleworks, which is in Philadelphia. I went up to Philly to the Christmas market. I'm glad I did because I went to the old Wanamaker's store. For anyone from this area, Wanamaker's was an old department store. Very old. This big, huge early 1900s building. And Macy's is in there now. Wanamaker's went out of business some years ago now. But Macy's just announced that it's one of the stores that they're going to be closing. So that building will be closed. I don't know that any department store will be going in there. There just aren't the kind of big department stores that used to be in buildings like that. So it's not in great repair either. A lot of the building is marble. I mean, it's marble floors inside. It's these big marble columns. And a lot of the marble is chipped and cracked, and just the building is old. But it's Philadelphia history, and it would be a shame to see it get torn down or something, and I don't know what's going to happen to it. It's several stories, but inside the store is around the outer edges, and then in the middle it's open, so it's balconies on each floor looking down into the first floor. And on the one wall, it's this old pipe organ that's, you know, the pipes are stories tall. And I don't know. I'm sure it's a historic landmark, so it may be designated as a building that it's limited in what people can do with it. I just don't know what's going to happen with it now, but anyway, I'm off on a tangent again. I went to Philly, and so I went to Rittenhouse Rittenhouse Needlepoint. I had never been there before. I had heard that they had a nice selection of cross stitch. They don't have a lot of cross stitch, but they do have some patterns. But they have all of the threads you would ever want. I got the Kringle for the cat that I finished. Had I known I was missing Kringle for the Santa, I could have gotten them there. They've got all of the Belsoirs, all of the Glorianas. They've got all of the Caron flosses. And because they're needlepoint as well, they've got all the Caron, you know, thicker pearl cottons. They had cottage garden threads. They did have Classic Colorworks and General Arts. I think they had DMC, but I wasn't really shopping for DMC. But they had a silk floss there that I had never heard of before, and it's Steph Francis, and it was very inexpensive for silk floss, so I bought a couple of them to try out. Well, this is a gift, the purple. But I bought a couple just to try them out. They kind of remind me of Dinky Dyes, just in the way they look and feel. And the pricing's probably comparable to Dinky Dyes, but I thought I'd give them a try. And I was looking for a chocolate brown linen, there is a pattern called The Secret Garden, and it's from like the book club or the book, I can't think of the name of the Etsy shop. It was someone who was selling kits. I learned about it when I was at Stitching in the Wild. It's online PDF patterns only, but she has one called Secret Garden, and it's the door. So it's stitched on dark brown fabric, and the way they have it finished, they've then done almost like a shadow box with it, and there's some flowers, and it looks like the secret door to the secret garden. And I loved that book when I was a kid. So I was looking for some dark brown fabric, and they didn't have a lot of linen, but they had a nice little, you know, you're probably not going to go in there and find, if you need gray 32 count, you couldn't go in there and say, yeah, they're going to have a gray 32 count. But they had an interesting little just assortment, and I was excited to pick this up. And then I have a few patterns from my travels. When I went to Baltimore, I went to Needlecraft Corner and Stitching Post, and then in DC, in Alexandria, I went to In Stitches for the end of year, just kind of my end of year little route that I do there. And I bought a few patterns. I didn't buy a lot. I'm gotta say there's not a lot of patterns catching my eye right now. I'm excited that the market patterns are starting to trickle out. I'm hoping that more grabs my eye. Not that I need more patterns, but I need some inspiration. So I'm hoping some more grabs my eye there than did this past year. I've seen a few patterns already. I know Garon Stitchery has started loading pictures of the patterns that are out. I know there's a Jeanette Douglas that I liked, and I think a Pansy Patch Quilt has one that's something about stitching that I liked. So looking forward to seeing the market stuff start to appear. But I did buy a few patterns. I bought Cherry Blossoms Snowy Day. It's another snowman. I do love snowman. And he's not too big, so it's not 9 million rows of white. I know I don't like stitching white. This next one I've actually been looking for. I've seen this twice. It's Hands On Design, First Frost, and both places that I saw it, they didn't do it as two separate pieces. They've got it as one long thing, framed, and it's gorgeous done that way. It might be gorgeous done this way too. I don't know what these little shapes are supposed to be. Does anyone know? When I picked the pattern up, I mean, when I spotted it, I was like, oh, that's the pattern I've been looking for. But what are those shapes? What the heck is that? Are they to be snowmen? Oh, templates for the snowmen. All right, I guess snowmen with really big bodies and little heads. I want to do them as one big, long framed thing. And hopefully I won't I'm hoping that these houses are small enough that I won't scream stitching them, because I'm not a huge fan of stitching houses because it's too much stitching all the same color. Not enough counting. But I think these are small enough, which reminds me, I have seen the new little house. They've got like a little house similar to that coming out every month. Country Cottage Needleworks. I always want to say Cottage Garden. It's Country Cottage. Now I'm questioning if that's right. I think it is Country Cottage. Yeah. Hopefully that's right. They've got like a little village coming out each month, and I've seen the January and February. I haven't seen the patterns anywhere. I've just seen pictures of them, and they caught my eye, but I need to see one in person to really see how big are these houses. Am I gonna go out of my mind stitching them before I'm not buying a whole year of them, but I might want certain months, but now I have that one, so maybe that's good. I did pick up Silver Creek Sampler Christmas Virtues. This is a new one this year, I think. But it says dance like Frosty, shine like Rudolph, dream like Hermie, and give like Saint Nicholas. And I just thought they were cute. And each one is only 50 by 70. So for example, on 28 count, 3.5 by 5. These are not big. In my head, they're big, just looking at the detail that's on them. But, yeah, 50 by 70. If you do them in a whole row, it's 223 by 70. But I thought they were cute. And I do enjoy stitching Silver Creek Sampler. These next ones I got half off at Needlecraft Corner in Baltimore. She has a fantastic half off wall. Every time I've gone in there, I'm like, what is this pattern doing on here? This is a new pattern. But it's 2 of the Patriotic ones from Primrose Cottage. So I picked up Red, White, and Blue Quilt. And I picked up Patriotic Quaker. I'm not a huge Patriotic stitcher, but these are fast stitches. And I like doing Quakers, so I'll enjoy doing these too. And they were half off, $4.50. This one was not half off, but this one I've been eyeing up. It's the 12 monthly minis from Primrose Cottage, and I'm sure you've seen these stitched different places, different people. I've seen people do 1/1, like I think it was this one. They did 1/1 and just the middle, and it fit in one of those little teeny tiny embroidery hoops. But these are just sweet, and they're really fast stitches. I mean, each one is only, they're 40 by 40. And there's a lot of white space in there. So, you know, that's, if you had your fabric and your floss pulled, you could do one a night. Not that I do them all at once, but this next one is Posie from Alicia Paulson, and it's called the Stitcher's RSVP. And it says, listen, I still want to be invited, but I'm not coming. And it's got a cat and a bunch of stitchy stuff on there. And that unfortunately sometimes sums me up. Not as much since I work from home. I'd have grand plans to go out and do stuff, and then I'd be like, I don't feel like doing that. But since I work from home, I'm more social. I think before, just working in the office, that had kind of filled my people quotient, and I was ready to just be home. And now working from home, I'm like, no, I need to get out and see some people live and in person. This last one I bought at Rittenhouse when I was there. Like I said, they do have some cross stitch. Actually, they have all of Colleen Rebel Stitcher's patterns. They had Satsuma Street. They had a lot of Blue Flower. I'm trying to remember who else. They probably had about 8 or 10 different designers there, and then they had a pretty broad selection of them. I did get an email that they were having a sale, and there were quite a few cross-stitch patterns on sale there, and pretty deeply discounted. I want to say they were like 40 or 50% off, because I did notice this one is on sale. This is Satsuma Street Folk Flowers, and you can either do them as individual motifs or as the bell pull. I like the bell pull. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these bell pulls. I already have 2 that are done. I'm running out of places to hang bell pulls, so maybe I ought to rein that in, but I'll come up with something to do with it. It looks like a lot of solid stitching until you look at them, the little individual motifs, and it's actually not as bad as it looks, because I don't like doing huge blocks the same color. And at first when I looked at this pattern, I was like, oh no, I love the look, won't have fun stitching it. And then when I looked at the back, I'm like, oh, that's not that many rows of that salt, like this green over here. It's only like 8 rows. It's not very much. So that was all of my shopping. I didn't, like I said, I didn't, I reined myself in. I didn't go too crazy, even though I went to lots of different shops. So that's everything that's been going on. Now I am done Christmas stitching. I am moving on into winter stitching and a little bit of non-seasonal stitching. Gotta get going on that, put a bird on it so I can catch up and then just stay on the regular monthly cadence with everybody. So I'm hoping this weekend I can maybe even knock that out and get caught up. And that's all my plans for the next few weeks. Don't have any plans to go anywhere, do any shopping, hopefully not. This is my month. This is typically my month where I try to be really frugal. And then it will last until about March when I go to Needlework Extravaganza in New Jersey. But anyway, I hope you all are doing some fun stitching. Thank you again for coming to visit with me, and if you stuck around this long, God bless you. And I will talk to you all in a couple weeks. Bye.